So the project that is putting an LS1 into my 1988 Honda Accord, it's been going pretty well. How we got to the point that we're at right now is I have the GTO subframe in the Accord. Also, I went into suspension geometry. That was about 2 videos back. And in the last video, I went into tubbing out the engine bay, a little custom flare on that. And I needed to tub it out because I'm gonna be running bigger tires. I'll show you guys the wheel and tire setup pretty soon. But this video, this is the one I've been looking forward to. I know this is the one that you've been looking forward to, and this is the video where we're gonna test fit the motor. Finally.
And now, you're watching the engine swap with the same level of energy, intensity, and insanity as the Juggalo Convention channel of YouTube. Welcome to Motivision.
Hey, so what's crapping and what's happening, what's going on? So in the last video, like I said, we finished all this out. These are actually trailer tubs. I did my little dimple dies here, dimple dies there. These are the tops from the GTO, and then I was able to use the tops from the GTO because I wanted to use this and this as a reference with that bar over there just to make sure that everything was straight. And if what I'm saying doesn't make sense, go ahead and check out that last video and it will make sense. So what I want to do right now is I want to focus on essentially and eventually getting this cut out somewhere so that way we can test fit the motor. Now the windshield, as you can see, it looks kind of crazy. That's just because it's masked off from the inside. Now I've learned the hard way with cars in the past, if you're going to be welding on the inside, you need to protect the windshield, because if you're welding and little sparks hit the windshield, it's gonna mess it up, and that's not at all a good time. So I have the inside of the windshield masked off and protected, and then the doors, I was kind of trying to think about the door panels, the glass, how all I wanted to protect them and everything. But what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and rip the doors off, and then I won't have to worry about them. So as I was getting ready to take the door off, I rolled the window down just to make the door easier to carry, but that made me realize if the window's inside the door, I don't need to protect it, and I could just throw a blanket or something over the door panel. So that just goes to show you that even up until the last second, things change, and there's no reason to just do extra work just because. So change your mind as you go, make adjustments, do the best thing for that second, and then the next second, something else might happen. And also, before I get into my next step, I wanted to address the fact that those holes in the engine bay, they're gonna be covered up from the inside with some kind of a plastic or even a splash guard. I don't know exactly what they're gonna be, but what I do know is they're not just gonna be exposed into the engine bay. The holes make it a little bit lighter, but also adding that dimple die in there, or the actual dimple impression, makes it a little bit stronger, and I think it looks good. I'm into that, so that's why I did that. Alrighty, so that's remnants of the trans tonal right there. Now I always stress and live by measure twice. You want to make sure everything's mapped out to be as clean as possible, but with this vibe, the way that I'm attacking this is it just looks really crazy. I just wanted to get everything out of there so that way I knew for sure I would have ample room to put in the motor, and then I'm going to build out accordingly. I didn't want to put it in there, trim a little bit, clean it up a little bit, because in the end I'm gonna have to rebuild a whole bunch of it, so I didn't want to just spend the time doing that because the amount of work that I have to do will be the same at the end. So I wanted to save a little bit of time by just cutting it out and making sure it'll fit. So right now I got the trans fluid draining, the LS. Man, it's crazy. We're about to see this go in the engine bay for the first time. I could not be more excited for that. And also I wanted to mention right here, I know you saw that in the last clip, that brace right there I just wanted to brace the car up a little bit more because I'm cutting away a lot of the structure in the floor. I didn't want the car to bend or tweak or anything. Also, I made sure all 4 jack stands were leveled out. There was good pressure on all the jacks. I don't want the body to be twisting while I'm doing this. Now, I do understand some people might suggest that I should have braced it more, but I also know that most people wouldn't have even braced it at all. So I think I'm kind of right in the middle with what I should be doing and what I did do. And I'm all good with that. Now let's try to wrestle this big girl and see if we can get those mounts to line up and eventually see where it's gonna live indefinitely. All right, baby, let's do this. And one other thing, I also have a scissor jack or a scissor lift, whatever you wanna call it, underneath the subframe just because I'm not extremely confident in how strong the chassis is quite yet. So that's gonna support the weight of the motor. The trans side, I'm gonna have it up with the jack. So I don't think it's gonna stress out the frame too much. Let's just go for it. So as a guy, a question was just presented to me, and it's a question that us guys never want to hear. And the question was actually asked to me by Betty White, and the question was, is it in? Boom! It is in, baby. So right now, this is such a monumental milestone that we just crossed. The LS, it is actually sitting in the car right now. And as you can see, it's not that bad. I mean, for how monstrous this motor is compared to the motor that was in there, I didn't think we'd have as much room as we do. But in reality, I mean, look at this. So side to side right here for the headers, I think we're gonna be plenty fine. I put the stock radiator in here with the stock fans just to see how far they would come. And we definitely have plenty of room out here to run a bigger radiator with some slim fans and possibly a shroud. That's gonna be completely fine. Now, one thing that you probably noticed right off the bat is the fact that it looks like the motor is sitting up pretty high. You might say, why didn't I go lower if I was doing everything custom? But the flip side of the motor being so high, that means the oil pan is actually up very high as well. And the reason why I wanted the motor to be up as high as it is because I want this car to look good. And for the car to look good, it has to be at least semi-slammed. It's gotta look really nice all around. I'm focused on looks on this car and just the crazy wow factor of it being a 1988 Honda Accord with an LS in it. I want it to sit right. I want it to sound right. I want it to look right. And I think we are addressing that. So what I want to do next, now that the motor is sitting in here, well, let me show you what it looks like on the inside. So another issue that I was worried about was, is there going to be enough room for all of my pedals? And all the brackets are still up there. I didn't have to cut any of them out whatsoever. Once I build out the tunnel and everything, I think there's going to be ample space for my gas pedal, brake pedal, and clutch. I think that's going to be just fine. Also, the shifter position compared to where I'm sitting, as you can see, this is where the front of the seat sits, and then it can move forward or backwards. So here's where the shifter is. I think it's going to be perfectly fine. It's a little further back than it was factory, but if I just run a dual bend off of it to push it forward a little bit, I can do that if I need to. And also, heater core, no way. And overall, man, it is just really cool to see this in here. And also another thing coming back on the outside of the car, the motor, the intake manifold actually had to come quite a bit over here underneath. But as far as height, we're completely fine. If you can see, this is the cowl right here. And that sits roughly like that. So I'm just gonna have to box it in from the inside, make sure there's plenty of room. But as far as the hood sitting right here, that's gonna be completely fine. I'm happy with this. All of that looks good. I'm just ecstatic right now to actually see the motor in here. It is just, it's so real right now. So what I wanna do is I want to kind of confirm that I have as much room as I think I'm going to have. I want to throw the headers on over here just to see, and also I want to throw the hood on to see what extent I'm going to have to modify it. The main goal with the hood is to make it look as stock as possible. I will not be cutting a hole in the hood and having the motor hang out. I think that looks good for some builds, but just for this build, I don't want to do it that way. I want to keep every single thing under the hood, so I might extend some of the body lines that are there. I'll get into that a little bit more later on when we actually get there if I need to modify it. I'm probably gonna have to modify it. So it's not a big surprise that the hood will not fit completely. As you can see, there's the bump stop right there that has to mate with the bottom of the hood right there. And that's on both sides. And I actually measured it out and we're about 2 inches off. And if you can see up in there, the intake manifold, the power steering reservoir, and also the oil fill is very close. We are making contact with the hood. So now what my plan is to address this issue, well, I don't really consider it to be an issue, but what my plan is to address this is, if you can see this blue line that I made right here, I just threw some pinstripe tape just on the hood so that way you can see it a little bit more clearly. There's naturally a body line right here. I just wanted to put the tape so that way you can see it. Comes all the way right here, follows along, and then there's a body line right there. So essentially when we get there, the plan is gonna be to either cut right on this line or up on this ridge or somewhere in the middle. I haven't decided yet. So I'll cut down the hood right here completely, all the way around over here, cut the whole thing, and then raise it that 2.5 inches that I actually need. And like I said a little bit ago, I want to preserve the natural look of this car as much as possible. So if I just utilize the body lines that are already there, if I just extend them a little bit, I don't think it's going to look too bad. And again, we're not going to be to that point for a long time, but I just wanted to fill you guys in, let you know that I'm always thinking 3, 4, 5, 6 steps ahead of the game. I'm thinking about the entire project as I'm going. I'm not just over here laying down bricks and I don't have the house built yet. The entire house is already built. The entire car is already built. I just have to go through and show you each step by step, but I want to fill you in on what I'm thinking along the way. And actually, I just spent a little bit of time. I wanted to clean up a little bit. I wanted to take a good thumbnail photo because my hopes is that this build will start to really gain some traction as far as going viral. I hope it is. That's what I'm banking on. If you guys are enjoying this as much as I am, give this video a like. If you're super hype, if you're matching my energy on everything that's going on, go ahead and share this video with your friends or just share my channel. Say, hey man, I really enjoy these videos. I think you will enjoy them as well. And I personally will appreciate that so very much. So coming up in the next couple videos, we're gonna go ahead and build out the trans tunnel because that makes sense. Also, we gotta go ahead and finalize coilovers. I'm trying to get that figured out behind the scenes as we speak before I go ahead and announce what's going on with that. And just now, I just got a text message from my good friend Fat Boy. Now, Fat Boy's a truck driver. He did me a huge favor and he picked up some wheels for me in Georgia just as he was on his way back to Florida. I think he was in Washington. He was somewhere far out on the West Coast. Drove back, picked up wheels for me. So he did me a huge favor by doing that. I'll tell you the entire story on how that went coming up. And I'm going to go over there and pick them up right now. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know what it is, YouTube. Betty White asked me if it's in. It's in. Damn, I'm out.